Hello, friends. Namaskar. How are you? After a long time meeting you again in my blog, and today I will take you to the ruins of Hampy. Hampy, also referred to as the group of monuments at Hampy, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site located in Hampy city of Vijayanagar district, East Central Karnataka, India. Coincidentally, I got to visit this place while visiting to my one of my proposed pumped storage project somewhere in Karnataka, and the place was nearby, and we had some leisure, so we decided to visit this place, and which is of historical importance. And I'll tell you about everything about this beautiful temple and its history. So let's go and visit this place, friends. Hampi predates the Vijayanagar Empire. It is mentioned in the Ramayana and the Puranas of Hinduism as Pampa Devi Tirth Kshetra. Hampi continues to be an important religious center, housing the Virupaksha temple, an active Adi Shankara linked monastery, and various monuments belonging to the old city. Hampi was the capital of the Vijayanagar Empire in the 14th century. It was a fortified city, and chronicles left by Persian and European travelers, particularly the Portuguese, say that Hampi was a prosperous, wealthy, and grand city near the Tungabhadra river, with numerous temples, farms, and trading markets. By 1500 CE, Hampi Vijayanagar was the world's second largest city after Beijing and probably India's richest at that time, attracting traders from Persia and Portugal. The Vijayanagar Empire was defeated by a coalition of Muslim sultanates. Its capital was conquered, pillaged, and destroyed by Sultanate armies in 1565, after which Hampi remained in ruins. Located in Karnataka near the modern era city of Hospet, Hampi's ruins are spread over 4,100 hectares, that is 16 square miles, and it has been described by UNESCO as an austere, grandiose site of more than 1600 surviving remains of the last great Hindu kingdom in South India that includes forts, riverside features, royal and sacred complexes, temples, shrines, pillared halls, mandapas, memorial structures, water structures, and others, of course. Hampi is situated on the bank of the Tungabhadra River in the eastern part of central Karnataka near the state border with Andhra Pradesh. It is 376 kilometers, and that is 234 miles from Bengaluru, and 165 kilometers, that is 103 miles from Hubli. The closest railway station is in Hospet, 30 kilometers, that is 8.1 miles away, and the closest airport is 32 kilometers, 20 miles, Giandal Vijayanagar Airport in Torangallu, which has connections to Bengaluru. Overnight buses and trains also connect Hampi with Goa and Bengaluru. It is 140 kilometers southeast of the Badami and Aihole archaeological sites. The synonym Hampi, traditionally known as Pampa Kshetra, Kishkinda Kshetra, or Bhaskara Kshetra, is derived from Pampa, another name of the goddess Parvati in Hindu theology. According to mythology, the maiden Parvati, who is a reincarnation of Shiva's previous wife Sati, resolves to marry the loner ascetic Shiva. Her parents learn of her desire and discourage her, but she pursues her desire. Shiva is lost in yogic meditation, oblivious to the world. Parvati appeals to the gods for help to awaken him and gain his attention. Indra sends Kamadeva, the Hindu god of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection, to awake Shiva from meditation. Kama reaches Shiva and shoots an arrow of desire. Shiva opens his third eye in his forehead and burns Kama to ashes. Parvati does not lose her hope or her resolve to win over Shiva. She begins to live like him and engage in the same activities, asceticism, yogin, and tapasya, awakening him and attracting his interest. Shiva meets Parvati in disguised form and tries to discourage her, telling her Shiva's weaknesses and personality problems. Parvati refuses to listen and insists in her resolve. Shiva finally accepts her and they get married. Kama was later brought back to life after the marriage of Shiva and Parvati. According to Sthal Purana, Parvati Pampa pursued her ascetic yogini lifestyle on Hemakuta Hill, now a part of Hampi, to win and bring ascetic Shiva back into householder life. Shiva is also called Pampapati, meaning husband of Pampa. The river near the Hemkunta hill came to be known as Pampa River. The Sanskrit word Pampa morphed into the Kannada word Hampa, and the place Parvati pursued Shiva came to be known as Hampi or Hampi. The site was an early medieval era pilgrimage place known as Pampakshetra. Its fame came from the Kiskinda chapters of the Hindu epic Ramayana, where Rama and Lakshmana meet Hanuman, Sugriva, and the monkey army in their search for kidnapped Sita. The Hampi area has many close resemblances to the place described in the epic. The regional traditional beliefs that it is that place mentioned in the Ramayana attracting pilgrims. It was brought to light by an engineer named Colonel Colin Mackenzie during the 1800s. This is ancient to 14th century CE. Emperor Ashoka's rock edicts in Nittur and Udalagalon, both in Bellary district 269-232 BCE, suggest this region was part of the Maurya Empire during the 3rd century BCE. A Brahmi description and a terracotta seal dating to about the 2nd century CE have been found during site excavations. The town is mentioned in Badami Chalukya's inscriptions as Pampapura, dating from between the 6th and the 18th centuries. By the 10th century, it had become a center of religious and educational activities during the rule of the Hindu kings Kalyana Chalukyas, whose inscriptions state that the kings made land grants to Virupaksha temple. Several inscriptions from the 11th to 13th centuries are all about the Hampi site, with a mention of gifts to goddess Hampa Devi. Between the 20th and the 14th centuries, Hindu kings of the Hoysala Empire of South India built temples to Durga, Hampa Devi, and Shiva according to an inscription dated about 1199 CE. Hampi became the second royal residence. One of the Hoysala kings was known as Hampeya Udaya or Lord of Hampi. According to Burton Stein, the Hoyala Sala period inscriptions call Hampi by alternate names such as Virupaksh Pattana, Vijaya Virupakshpura in honor of the old Virupaksha Shiva temple there. The armies of the Delhi Sultanate, particularly those of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, invaded and pillaged South India. The Hoysala Empire and its capital, the Davara Samudra in southern Karnataka, was plundered and destroyed in the early 13th century by the armies of Alauddin Khilji, and again in 1326 CE by the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The Kompili kingdom in north-central Karnataka followed the collapse of Hoysala Empire. It was a short-lived Hindu kingdom with its capital about 33 kilometers from Hampi. The Kompili kingdom ended after an invasion by the Muslim armies of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The Hindu women of Kompili committed Jauhar, that is ritual mass suicide, when the Kompili soldiers faced defeat by Tughlaq's army. In 1336 CE, the Vijayanagar Empire arose from the ruins of the Kompili kingdom. It grew into one of the famed Hindu empires of South India that ruled for over 200 years. The Vijayanagar Empire built its capital around Hampi, calling it Vijayanagara. Many historians propose that Harihara I and Bukka I, the founders of the empire, were commanders in the army of the Hoysala Empire, stationed in the Tungabhadra region to ward off Muslim invasions from the northern India. Some claim that they were Telugu people who took control of the northern part of the Hoysala Empire during its decline. As per some of the texts such as Vidayarana Kalajana, Vidyarana Vitranta, Raj Kalanairanaina, Pitamaha Smita, Shivata Varatanakara. They were treasury officers of Pratap Rudra, the king of Kakatiya kingdom. When Muhammad bin Tughlaq came looking for Bahauddin Gurshap, who was taking refuge in the court of Pratap Rudra was overthrown and Kakatiya was destroyed. During this time, the two brothers Harihara I and Bukka I with a small army came to the present site of Vijayanagara Hampi. Vidyaranya, the 12th Jagat Guru of the Sringeri Sharda Peetham, took them under his protection and established them on the throne, and the city was called Vijayanagar in AD 1336. They expanded the infrastructure and temples. According to Nicholas Gear and other scholars, by 1500 CE, Hampi Vijayanagar was the world's second largest medieval era city after Beijing and probably India's richest. Its wealth attracted 16th century traders from across the Deccan area, Persia, and the Portuguese colonies of Goa. The Vijayanagar rulers fostered developments in intellectual pursuits and the arts, maintained a strong military, and fought many wars with sultanates to its north and east. They invested in roads, waterworks, agriculture, religious buildings, and public infrastructure. This included states, UNESCO, forts, riverside features, royal and sacred complexes, temples, shrines, pillared halls, mandapas, hall or people to sit, memorial structures, gateways, checkposts, stables, water structures, and more. The site was multi religious and multi ethnic. It included Hindu and Jain monuments next to each other. The buildings predominantly followed South Indian Hindu arts and architecture dating to the Aihole Patakdakal style, but the Hampi builders also used elements of Indian architecture in the Lotus Mahal, the public bath, and the elephant stable. According to historical memoirs left by Portuguese and Persian traders to Hampi, the city was of metropolitan proportions. They called it one of the most beautiful cities. While prosperous and in infrastructure, the Muslim Hindu wars between Muslim sultanates and Vijayanagar Empire continued. In 1565, at the Battle of Talikota, a coalition of Muslim sultanates entered into a war with the Vijayanagar Empire. They captured and beheaded the king Aliya Rama Raya, followed by a massive destruction of the infrastructure fabric of Hampi and the metropolitan Vijayanagara. The city was pillaged, looted, and burned for 6 months after the war, then abandoned as ruins, which are now called the group of monuments at Hampi. Hampi and its nearby region remained a contested and fought over region claimed by the local chiefs, the Hyderabad Muslim Nizams, the Maratha Hindu kings, and Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan of Mysore through the 18th century. In 1799, Tipu Sultan was defeated and killed when the British forces and Wadiyar dynasty aligned. The region then came under British influence. The ruins of Hampi were surveyed in 1800 by Scottish Colonel Colin Mackenzie, first Surveyor General of India. Mackenzie wrote that the Hampi site was abandoned and only wildlife lived there. The 19th century speculative articles by historians who followed Mackenzie blamed the 18th century armies of Hyder Ali and the Marathas for the damage to the Hampi monuments. The Hampi site remained largely ignored until the mid 19th century when Alexander Greenlaw visited and photographed the site in 1856. He created an archive of 60 calotype photographs of temples and royal structures that were standing in 1856. These photographs were held in a private collection in the United Kingdom and were not published until 1980. They are the most valuable source of the mid 19th century state of Hampi monuments to scholars. A translation of the memoirs written by Abdul Razzaq, a Persian envoy in the court of Devraya II, 1424 to 1446, published in the early 1818, describes some monuments of the abandoned site. This translation for the first time uses Arabic terms such as zinana to describe some of the Hampi monuments. Some of these terms became the names thereafter. Alexander Rea, an officer of the Archaeological Survey Department of the Madras Presidency within British India, published his survey of the site in 1885. Robert Sewell published his scholarly treatise A Forgotten Empire in 1900, bringing Hampi to the widespread attention of scholars. The growing interest led Ree and his successor Longhurst to clear and repair the Hampi group of monuments. The site is significant historically and archaeologically for the Vijayanagara period and before. The Archaeological Survey of India continues to conduct excavation in the area. Hampi is located in hilly terrain formed by granite boulders. The Hampi monuments comprising the UNESCO World Heritage Site are a subset of the wider spread Vijayanagara ruins. Almost all of the monuments were built between 1336 and 1570 CE during the Vijayanagara rule. The site has about 1600 monuments and covers 41.5 square kilometers of the area. The Hampy site has been studied in three broad zones. The first has been named the Sacred Center by scholars such as Burton, Stein, and others. The second is referred to as the Urban Core or the Royal Center, and the third constitutes the rest of metropolitan Vijayanagar. The sacred center alongside the river contains the oldest temples with a history of pilgrimage and monuments predating the Vijayanagar Empire. The urban core and royal center have over 60 ruined temples beyond those in the sacred center, but the temples in the urban core are all dated to the Vijayanagar Empire. The urban core also includes public utility infrastructure such as roads and aqueduct, water tanks, mandapa, gateways and markets, monasteries, etc. And this distinction has been assisted by some 77 stone inscriptions. Most of the monuments are Hindu. The temple and the public infrastructure such as tanks and markets include reliefs and artwork depicting Hindu deities and themes from Hindu texts. There are also six Jain temples and monuments and a Muslim mosque and tomb. The architecture is built from the abundant local stone. The dominant style is Dravidian with roots in the developments in Hindu arts and architecture in the second half of the first millennium in the Deccan region. It also included elements of the arts that developed during the Hoysala Empire rule in the south between 11th and the 14th century, such as in the pillars of Ramachandra temple and ceilings of some of the Virupaksha temple complex. The architects also adopted an Indo-Islamic style in a few monuments such as the Queen's Bath and Elephant Stables, which UNESCO says reflects a highly evolved multi-religious and multi-ethnic society. Virupaksha temple and market complex is the oldest shrine, the principal destination for pilgrims and tourists, and remains an active Hindu worship site. Parts of the Shiva, Pampa, and Durga temples existed in the 11th century. It was extended during the Vijayanagar era. The temple is a collection of small temples, a regularly repainted 50-meter high Gopuram, a Hindu monastery dedicated to Vidyaranya of Advaita Vedanta tradition, a water tank, Manmatha, a community kitchen, other monuments, and the 750 meters long ruined stone market with a monolithic Nandi shrine on the east end. The temple faces eastwards, aligning the sanctums of the Shiva and Pampa Devi temples to the sunrise. A large Gopuram marks its entrance. The superstructure is a pyramidal tower with pilastered stories on each of which is artwork including erotic sculptures. The Gopuram leads into a rectangular court that ends in another, smaller Gopuram dated to 1510 CE. To its south side is a 100 column hall with Hindu related reliefs on all four sides of each pillar. Connected to this public hall is a community kitchen, a feature found in other major Hampy temples. A channel is cut into the rock to deliver water to the kitchen and the feeding hall. The courtyard after the small Gopuram has Deepa Stambha, lamp pillar, and Nandi. The Kodandarma temple complex lies near the Tungabhadra river and is north of Achyutarya temple. The temple overlooks Chakratirtha where the Tungabhadra turns northward towards the Himalayas. The river banks considered holy accommodate Vijayanagara era ghat and mandapa facilitates for bathing. In front of the temple is a Deepa Stambha lighting pillar under a peepal tree, and inside is a sanctum dedicated to Rama, Sita, Lakshmana and Hanuman. Nearby and continuing until Koti Tirtha to its north are a number of smaller shrines dedicated to Vithala, Anjaneya, Shiva and other deities. On the rock face are reliefs of Anantasthana Vishnu, reclining Vishnu creating the cosmic cycle Ranganatha, friezes narrating the legends of Narsimha and Prahlada and the 24 avatars of Vishnu according to the Puranic traditions of Vaishnavism. Near the river is a rock carved with Saivism 1008 lingas. Krishna temple, also called Balakrishna temple on the other side of Hemakuta hill, is about 1 kilometer south of Virupaksha temple. It is dated to 1515 CE And this part of the Hampi complex is called Krishnapura in inscriptions. In front of the ruined temple is a long market street, also referred to locally as the bazaar. Chitarya temple, also called the Thiruvengalanatha temple, is about 1 kilometer east of Virupaksha temple, and a part of its sacred center is close to the Tungabhadra river. The Vithala temple and market complex is over 3 kilometers northeast of the Virupaksha temple near the banks of the Tungabhadra river, and it is the most artistically sophisticated Hindu temple in Hampi and is part of the sacred center of Vijayanagar. Pattabhirama temple complex is in the southern suburban center outside the sacred center and the urban core, about 500 meters from the ASI Hampi Museum. It was the nucleus of economic and cultural activity of the suburb, now located northeast of Kamalapura. Mahanavami platform public square complex. The Mahanavami platform, also called the Great Platform Audience Hall, Dasara or Mahanavami Dibba monument, is within a 7.5 hectare enclosure at one of the highest points inside the royal center, that is urban core. It has ceremonial structures. It is mentioned in the memoirs of foreigners who visited Vijayanagar, some calling it the House of Victory. A square water pavilion, also called the Queen's Bath, is in the southeast of the Royal Centre. It has a pavilion, a water basin, and a method of moving fresh water to it and taking away wash water and overflows. The basin is enclosed within an ornate pillared vaulted bay. Nearby are ruins of the aqueduct. The modern name of this building, the Queen's Bath, is probably a misnomer because this was a public bath for men and travelers. Fountains and community kitchen. Several major temples in Hampi have been embedded kitchen and 100 or more pillared feeding halls. Elephant stable and enclosures. In the east of the royal center lies the Gajshala or elephant stables, which consist of 11 square chambers aligned north-south. The opening to the stables are arched. Above 10 chambers are alternating fluted and plain domes. In the middle of the stable are stairs to the each roof. Other Hindu temples and monuments are there in Hampi, and in the sacred center near the southern banks of the Tungabhadra river and close to the Vithala temple complex are gateways and a monument now called the King's Balance. The latter is similar to those found at the entrance of South Indian Hindu temples for the Tula Purush Dana or Tula Bharam ceremonies, in which a person gives a gift by weight equal to or greater than their body weight. So friends, that was all about Hampi, and there are many Jain monuments also. Ganagitti temple complex is there. Other Jain temples and monuments are also there. Muslim monuments are also there, and Ahmad Khan Mosque and tomb. So many places are there to visit in Hampi, and I gave you a glimpse of all about Hampi. And whenever you get a chance to visit South India, never ever forget to go to Hampi, which is a historical place and a real urban place of those times which equated Beijing during medieval times. So that's all about Hampi, friends, and a lot much you can get in Wikipedia and in internet. And we have visited all these places. Some of them we left because we had a shortage of time. So thanks to Wikipedia also, from where I got and gathered this information, and you also are requested to go through Wikipedia and collect the information and then go to Hampi and visit all these beautiful monuments, places, temples, and of course the Kiskindha one on the other bank of Tungabhadra river. Thank you so much. Bye bye.